This is the speaking test of the International English Language Testing System taking place on 16th August 2024 Friday, situated at Aspiring Bangladesh, center number AB101, and the examiner is Muhammad Shaukat Aziz, ID Nong 1111101, and the examinee is Tasmia Tahir Aziz, ID Nong ABKHK 1025. Good day.
Good day, sir.
How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. How about you, sir?
Alhamdulillah, I'm also doing good. Can I see your identification, please?
Yeah, sure. Here you go, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, kindly introduce yourself. What's your name?
My name is Tasmia Tahir Aziz, and I'm a professional. My profession is a research assistant. At the moment, I'm working at a prominent research institute in Chattogram, Bangladesh.
Okay, so why do you want to sit for the IELTS test?
Because I want to further my academic career, and I find that doing a better score in IELTS will aid me in my academic career, research career, and overall in every aspect of my life.
So, speaking of career, what's your future plan?
I would like to continue my career as a researcher in the field of non-communicable diseases.
Okay, so how did you arrive today at this exam center?
Through taxi.
Okay, so thank you. Now we're going to start the part 1 of the speaking test. So in this part, I'm going to ask you some personal question about yourself. So are you ready?
Yes.
So let's talk about your hometown. So the first question is, where is your hometown?
I'm a city girl. I am brought and built up in the second most largest city in Bangladesh, Chattogram. It's a beautiful city, and the most wonderful thing about it is that, and which actually I believe makes it way different from other cities, is that it's green. It's you don't usually see so much trees in a big city, like for instance Dhaka. You don't see so much of green, but we definitely see lots of green in our beloved city.
Can you describe the area you come from?
I come from you could say a historic area. It's an old area of Chattogram. It is quite big and highly populated, and the unique thing about is that there are a lot of people of the minority. I don't know if I should use the word minority, but I would probably would say people from other religion are more populated in my area than usual Muslims.
Okay, what facilities are there in your area for children?
For children, I wouldn't say there are so much opportunities, but I would like to emphasize on the fact that my area is quite safe for the children. So children usually play at the streets, and the community are very, very much strong. So they tend to protect the kids a lot. So I would say, even if we don't have unique facilities there, but I would say it's a safe community for the children to thrive.
Now let's talk about how you travel. So the first question is, how do you get to college or work?
It depends on the day, and it definitely depends on my mood. When I want to, when I have lots of time and I want to enjoy the weather, I have lots of time in my hand, I usually like to go by rickshaw. And if I don't have that much time, I would rather take a taxi.
Okay. So do you travel alone or with friends?
Mostly alone, but it certainly again depends on the situation. For instance, if I am coming back from my office, then usually some of my colleagues are there with me. But in most of the cases, I'm alone.
Okay. What do you do during your journey?
During my journey, I usually don't like to do that much thing. If you consider sitting down and thinking about my future or all the things that went by, then probably I do that.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. With this, I'd like to conclude part 1 of the speaking test. Now, let's move towards part 2. Can you take this cue card? Also, you can use this piece of notepad and this pen to make small notes if you wish. You will get 1 minute to prepare on this topic, and your time starts now. Time's up. Now you'll get 2 minutes time to speak on this topic. Kindly begin.
My teenage years were rather carefree, I would like to say. And some would say that I was quite rebellious, but I would rather disagree with that term. I would say I was quite lovable, and my parents used to love me a lot. But one thing I would like to add is that I would consider myself opinionated, not rebellious, because I found that if I don't like something, I would rather speak up rather than stay silent, because I was never a person that would stay silent in a case that I find that is not justified. Also, I would say if I compare myself to my teenage days, I'm now more calmer that I was not at all. Usually I used to spend my time listening to music, doing art, and I was quite introverted. As days went by, I am turning into an extrovert, but I used to be an introvert, but introvert with lots of opinion, that I would like to add. And in my teenage days, I don't know, I feel that my teenage days was filled with angst like any other teenage these days. And the thing that I don't think anything was different from any teen that goes through in the phase with all those emotional imbalance that goes through. And I feel that probably, yeah, there was a thing that I would quote as trying to be cool, that every teenager faces, that I actually faced that situation also. And teenage life is a really special moment for any person. For me, that is special, but I rather enjoy being an adult than I enjoyed being a teenager.
Thank you, ma'am. Time's up. So now I'm going to ask you some questions related to part 2. So tell me about some crucial phases of teenage life.
Crucial phases, obviously first is the emotional imbalance. When a kid is turning into an adult, the middle phase is the teenage phase. And you, biologically people are wired up like that you'd go through a transition from a kid to an adult, and the middle phase is going to be tumultuous. And that's the key high point of teenage life. And that actually affects our life a lot, because when a sane person talks, they talk clearly. But when there is so much emotion filled up in you, then you don't think clearly, and that creates so much imbalance in your life. For instance, you fight with your siblings, you fight with your peers, you fight with your parents, and that causes so much trauma in a teenage life. And I have heard from so many teenagers, even my peers, when I was teen, that they wanted to commit suicide and those kind of stuffs. Personally, I've never felt that, but I've heard from my peers that they had suffered through those kind of stuffs.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. With this, I'd like to conclude part 2 of the speaking test. Finally, let's move towards part 3. But before that, kindly return the cue card and the notebook.
Thank you.
So finally, in part 3, now we're going to initiate a two-way discussion session. So in this session, I'm going to ask you about some general topics. So are you ready?
Yeah.
So the first discussion topic is, in what way is the relationship between parents and teenagers different from the relationship between parents and younger children?
It definitely depends, and it definitely varies from country to country. But I would like to shed light in the experience from my country, and from my experience, it might not match with others. So what I find that it actually is quite different nowadays from what it used to be. In my days, kids, even teenagers, were more prone to listen to their parents than they are now. It's definitely not a bad thing, I suppose, but teenagers these days I believe, are quite unstoppable and quite hard to manage, and it actually impacts the parents a lot. And as I'm growing older, I would not like to have such rebellious kid as my own kid, and I find that it's going to be really hard for parents nowadays. And I think our parents actually did have it way more easier than the parents of nowadays.
Okay. So why do you think that our parents had it, or your parents had it easier compared to the next generation?
I mean, look at me, how docile I am, how well-mannered I am. I think that we were more prone to a mindset that made us make our parents proud, make us work in a way that we wanted our parents to be happy. Nowadays, I find, it's totally my personal belief, nowadays teenagers, they think about themselves first, then about their parents. And in one case it's not bad, but other case, for me, who really think that parents should be the first priority, for me it's kind of a thinking that I don't support. That's why I think that teenagers these days are more rebellious.
So how are younger children different? And tell me about the relationship between younger children and parents.
Younger children are more likely to believe their parents. Teenagers will always have a question why. Young children never do that. They believe you. You're
Why?
the God.
Why not?
Because there's a inbuilt trust. As long as they're really little, they find their parents to be as like as their hero. And you see people nowadays, the young generation nowadays, if you talk about the K-pop industry, they follow them like blindly because they find them as their hero. And for a little kid, their parents are the hero. They will listen to them. Anything they're saying, they'll do. But as teenagers, they develop questions. They develop an instinct to do what is right by them. So they start questioning, and they see that parents can also make mistakes. So they tend to not follow by the parents. On the other hand, the little kids are blind by love, I would say, and they always follow whatever their parents are saying.
Okay. So next, what causes the most arguments between parents and teenagers?
Most probably everything. Mostly the teenager probably do not want to study. They want to play and go outside, and the parents would not allow that because they want their kids to have a bright future. They would want them to study. The parents would also monitor them about how much mobile or internet use they're doing, but the teenager would want to access the internet and play games and waste their time, and that would be a huge topic for rift between parents and teenagers.
So do you think peers influence teenagers to rebel against their parents?
Yeah, in some sense. Like, for instance, if one of my friends tells me, hey, why aren't you saying anything? Your dad is so oppressive. Then she would obviously think that, oh my God, you're right, man. He is such a barbarian. And they would start thinking cycle in her head that, oh my God, my dad does not love me. And it's just a human nature, and already teenagers are so emotionally imbalanced that they would always feed up the negative energy from anywhere they can get, because they're not emotionally stable yet.
So why do you think that teenagers doubt their parents and easily get influenced against them, whereas they were more trusting and believing when they were children? Why is this the case?
It's definitely because of the hormone. First and foremost, the hormones. They're always angry, they're always anxious, they think that the world is against us, they think that only those persons who are really close to their age know what they're going through, and they obviously, their parents have the similar mindset, so they would trust each other. But parents are always telling them to not to do this, not to do that. They do not have that mental capability to understand that if your parents are telling you don't do this, they're probably doing that for your own good. But they don't see that, and that is the thing that creates so much rift between parents and kids.
Thank you, ma'am. With this, I'd like to conclude today's speaking test of the International English Language Testing System. Take care.
Thank you. Take care.